Welcome to East Harlem.
Okay.
I live here. My name is Raisha.
My name is Eddie.
My name is Ayala, and we are here in regards of the Teen Summer Program from the Bronx Museum, and we are here interviewing Miguel.
Miguel Luciano.
Hiram Maristany.
Just to start out, when and where were the Young Lords like founded and created?
Young Lords were founded in 1969. The Young Lords was essentially a youth movement. Okay? And in that youth is when we had the energy to be involved on multiple levels of things. We were not just doing one thing. The original group of Young Lords began in Chicago in 1968. So the Chicago Lords are older as an organization than New York branch of the Young Lords. Then later came Hartford, Connecticut, then came Newark, New Jersey, then came Philadelphia, and one more that I can't think of it slips my memory right now. But there were several different...
New Haven.
Yes, New Haven. Several different branches of the Young Lords throughout the Northeast. Okay.
So were they connected at all? Like, were they falling under the same organization, or did they just like share a name and values?
They were very much connected. They shared more than just name and values. There were disciplines that pertained to both Chicago Lords and New York Lords. There were distinct differences because it's two different towns, you know. But for the most part, New York Young Lords attempted to follow the rules and regulations of the Chicago Young Lords. The issue of feeding children breakfast in the morning is a health issue. It's not necessarily just an educational issue, but it is indeed an educational issue. You can't learn if you're hungry. But if you're not having proper nutrition, you are not going to be able to learn even if you fill the hunger need. So those are the kinds of things that are always a part of what Young Lords were doing. We were not just doing it for the sensationalism or to show the city up. That was not our objective. Our objective was to try and provide services that were desperately needed. On the tour, there's a very well-known photograph of mine of Young Lords pushing an X-ray truck. That X-ray truck had many responsibilities. One of them was to test for tuberculosis. East Harlem had one of the highest rates of tuberculosis, okay? And for some reason, New York City decided not to test in East Harlem. In the photographs, you see that we're pushing it because nobody knew how to drive a standard shift. It's funny now, but that was the whole deal. So, not to be dissuaded, we said, well, if you can't drive it, then let's push it. So we pushed it.
This is actually the first image we put up about this time last year. But this image is by far my favorite in the whole project for a couple of reasons. And the main reason is because it's a Young Lords image, but it's not a Young Lords member who is the center of the image. It's a community member who's the center of the image. And not just a community member, but an elder. And the woman who's an elder, somebody who could be anybody's aunt, anybody's tia. And she is, in this moment, she looks like she is leading the march. And there are people in the neighborhood who have recognized her from that history. All of which reminds us that this is still a living history, right? That the people that created it, the people that are in the images, the people that made the images are still in this community, right? That we are still here. It's still a Puerto Rican community. It's still a predominantly Latino community. It's predominantly people of color. That's El Barrio, that's East Harlem. In spite of the way it's being gentrified and changing, this tells us who it was then and still who it is now. which for us was a really important part of this project, was commemorating the history and then trying to move the history forward through people like you, right? As the next caretakers of this history and of social justice that needs to move forward in the way that you see the world today, because you inherit it, right? And you're the future.
Something that I think Miguel and I feel very strongly, and that's access.
Yes.
Okay. Access, for the most part, in art in America is reserved for people who have a lot of money, reserved for people who come from a tradition of art, and it's generally served by institutions such as galleries and museums. We felt very, very strongly that it's important that what we did is that we have no barriers between the artist, the art, and the audience. So that anyone that lives, walks, and walks by 110th, 111th, and Madison Avenue has direct access. This is your history. This belongs to you, and you should have access to it. And it seems almost, it's too simplistic. It seems almost like it doesn't register, but it is a very, very important point that young people get that sense. And that when you do have ownership to your history, you respect it, you honor it, and you move it forward. It's not just to have it, not just to walk around knowing your history. It's doing something positive, constructive with that history. Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.